The concepts were almost the same, only in greater portions. Of course, instead of stakes at the end of the branch, just something hit the person hard enough to knock them out. The same thing he did above the entrance door, tying the branches on top of the door with a piece of rope. Before he could even finish the second trap, he heard a noise coming from the forest, shouting in the distance. His heart raced and quickly closed the door. Running his eyes around, he searches restlessly for a hiding place until his eyes fell on the destroyed roof. Taking a deep breath, he runs to the kitchen, climbs on top of the pile of rubble, and with a good jump, grabs a hold of the roof and pulls his body up. At the top, he stands forward with the bow in hand. He was nervous for what exactly? He didn't even know. Maybe for everything? He held his breath for a moment, and when he saw a man running through the trees, and his hands were too blood-stained, with even torn pouches. The man himself had blood on his gray clothes, tears in some places, and dirt. His face looked somewhat bruised, his lip was cut, and his eye was black, and his nose seemed to be broken. Leon stood motionless, watching the man intently. Something was not right. He seemed anxious. He was running from certain desperation, and he doubted it was because of the short time. It was as if he were being chased by someone. Swallowing some saliva, Leon decides to wait. Anyway, if the man decided to make it to the boat, there would still be a vial missing. Ah! Leon clicked his tongue. Unfortunately, he didn't finish the trap just above the door in time. The man approached. It was clear that he was injured, and desperation to finish the test only made his concern. Probably didn't think that that place would be under watch. Time for the truth. Leon tapped his finger on the wood above the bow, anxious and hoping that the trap would still work as intended. The man approached. Every step he took seemed to be watched in slow motion by Leon's watchful eyes. He gasped, and still approaching, the man looked back. A quick glance of something, and he stepped on the trigger of the trap. The branch snapped and the ropes moved, and the leaves drifted away. The man's eyes widened at the noise and turned around again, only to be hit hard in the head. The man fell and blood began to trickle from his forehead. The trap was broken, but it was no longer for any use. The guy agonized on the ground, seemingly holding on to his conscience by just a thread. The fatigue and injuries just before were probably acting in such a way that the man could not recover fast enough. It was a chance to grab the vials and run. However, whatever that man was running from, he certainly had caught up to Leon. It was better to eliminate the threat at once. And this time he would have hoped that his aim was better than before, all because that bow was the only way to incapacitate the other person. And it wasn't long before said person appeared. Another man, long blonde hair, tall, with light skin. He was also wounded and tired, but unlike the other man on the ground, he seemed to have enough energy to finish the whole thing. What caught his attention, however, was a knife he had in his hand, a knife extremely similar to the one Leon had shown earlier, stained with blood. Leon swallowed some saliva, and the man began to approach with the blade in hand, a focused look on his face, going for the kill. Lifting his body slightly, Leon got into position with his bow, drawing the arrow to his chest. His head had been steady, but his breathing was way too heavy. The man stood a few steps away from the other, his knife already raised. Should he shoot, incapacitate them both? He didn't feel like his aim was any good yet, and his arms still started to shake a little. The man reached for the other. Sweat dripped down from the side of Leon's forehead. The guy was on the ground who tried to say something, but the other simply attacked. A top to bottom attack towards his neck. The blond man's eyes widened slightly as he let go of the arrow. No matter what happened, neither of those two would be out of there. But he would. The knife stuck into the neck of the fallen man, and the arrow struck in his chest of the man holding the knife, causing him to grunt in pain and fall backwards. Leon acted quickly and got up and ran across the roof, letting his body fall to the ground. After getting up quickly, he ran, grabbed the knife, and advanced to the fallen man, still alive. His mind did not process what exactly he was doing. His ears didn't hear the man's words, and he didn't feel control of his own body. When he came to, the knife was stuck in the knee of the man who was screaming in pain, and his hand was gripping on the handle of the blade firmly. Maybe he was a hypocrite. At least he felt like one. He couldn't be cold enough to kill that man, but would he be cold enough to leave him for dead? What would be the best option there? It didn't matter, he succeeded. It was them or him. After picking up the silver-bladed knife, he turned around and walked over to the man with the slashed neck, crouched down and picked up 2 pouches, looking expressively at the 2 vials in his hand. Without looking back, he makes his way through the interior of the house, follows a long corridor, goes down the stairs, and opens the front iron door. He followed another dim-lit corridor, until finally, after a while of walking, reached at the boat covered in blue. The boat was covered by some kind of protection attached to the boat itself, leaving it similar to submarine. "You have only 5 minutes just to get to the boat," the voice on the earpiece said again, and after taking a deep breath, Leon did as he is instructed. As soon as he closed the metal door of the iron of the places closes, and the white wall in front of him rises, letting the water flood the place.